Hi kids, and welcome back to our series Simple Stuff, where we take a look at all the stuff we see around us every day. And that simple stuff that we see every day can remind us more about who God is, what He's like, and how we can be like Him. I'm ready. If you're ready, let's go look at some stuff. For today's lesson, we are going to talk about pencils. If you're like our family, you probably have lots of pencils around your house. Maybe they're all in one spot or they're just scattered everywhere. Pencils are interesting because pencils come in all different shapes and sizes. Here's a pencil that is a Dr. Seuss pencil, except it doesn't have an eraser anymore and it's pretty small. It does need to be sharpened. Here's a mechanical pencil, the one that you fill with lead, and the more you need, the more you push the eraser and more lead comes out. Check out this pencil though. This is a flexible rubber pencil. I don't know how well it'll work, but I'm really interested to try it later today. But I do want to show you a pencil I got 25 years ago. Remember, they come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors. Well, check out the size of this pencil. Isn't it gigantic? It's huge. And right now it doesn't have any lead, but it does work, trust me. I got this pencil when I went to Romania a long time ago, and I thought it was awesome, and I tried to use it, and I did write some notes, but this thing gets heavy after a while for your hand. This is a huge, see, it knocked everything over. It's a huge pencil. Pencils can be used for a lot of different things, and you probably use them for a lot of different reasons. So I want you to take time to answer this question. What are some reasons kids use a pencil? What are some reasons kids use a pencil? Think about it. While you were thinking about it, I was too. And I made up a list of reasons why we might use pencils. We use pencils to do our homework, our math, our spelling, our vocab. We use pencils sometimes when we want to hear some music, and we want to pound out a little tune or something like that, as if they were drumsticks. We use pencils to fill in answers to crossword puzzles, or to draw a picture for yourself or someone else. If you're doing a word search and you find one of the words, you circle the word you found with a pencil. You might use a pencil to write a story that's filled with adventure, suspense, and intrigue. You might take notes with a pencil while you're listening to a teacher. If you're doing a research paper, you would use a pencil maybe to write down some of the facts that you'll need to finish your paper. Or you might use a pencil to circle the objects you discover in a seek and find book. Maybe you would use a pencil to write a note to a friend. You would fold up that note, put it inside of an envelope, and on the front of that envelope you would put your address, your friend's address, a stamp, and then you would stick it in the mail. What do we call that type of note that we write to a friend and then send to them in the mail? You got it. We would call that note a letter. Did you know that the Bible includes several letters written from one man to a bunch of his friends? The man who wrote those letters was named Paul. He didn't use a pencil to write those letters, but he did handwrite letters to his friends. Do you remember who Paul was? Paul was a man who wanted to follow God. And because he wanted to follow God, Paul thought that God wanted him to chase down and punish a new group of people who were showing up in his city. The group was called the Christians. Paul even asked the leaders of his city and his religion for permission to chase Christians as they spread to get away from him to different cities, to different countries. One day, while Paul was traveling to another city to chase down and punish some Christians, God visited Paul on the road. A bright light came from heaven. It knocked Paul off his horse, and Paul was blinded from that light. From the light, God spoke and said, "Paul, why are you persecuting me?" And Paul, through that conversation and a later conversation with somebody else, became convinced that he was not a true follower of God and chose that day to become a Christian. Well, Paul continued traveling from city to city, country to country, but this time he wasn't chasing Christians. Instead, he was preaching to people to help them become Christians. As people became Christians, Paul used those people to help start churches in cities. The people would gather together and they would hear preaching, they would hear teaching, they would fellowship with one another. Before Paul left one city to go start a church in another place, he would find a man to be the pastor of the church, to continue to lead and teach the people. But even after Paul would leave a city, he kept in touch with the people that were there, with the churches that he had helped to start. And he did that by writing them letters. Our Bible is divided into two different sections, the Old Testament and the New Testament. The New Testament starts with the book of Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and goes all the way to the book of Revelation. The New Testament contains 27 different books, and almost half of those books are written by Paul, letters that he sent to other Christians, to the churches. Letters like Romans, 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1 Thessalonians, 2 Thessalonians, 1 Timothy, 2 Timothy, Titus. All letters that Paul sent to his friends, to these churches, to say, there's answers to the questions that you've been asking me. Or here's something else I want to teach you about God. Or to encourage them and say, you are doing a great job growing in your faith, becoming more like Jesus. And he would even encourage them with this comment. To many of his friends, he said, I am praying for you. One of the groups that Paul wrote to was the church in Colossae. And we get the book of Colossians from that church. Paul said to those Christians, in our prayers for you, we always thank God. We have continued praying for you. When he wrote those letters to his friends, Paul said, I've been praying for you. Since the time that we were together, since I left, I haven't stopped praying for you and thanking God for you being a believer, for you growing to be more like Jesus, for what you've taught other people. I'm continually praying for you. I didn't write you a letter this week, but I did make you a video because I think you are my friends. I made you a video to tell you that I have been praying for you and I will continue to pray for you. And like Paul, I want to know, what are you struggling with? Or what are you excited about? How can I specifically pray for you? So I want you to think of how you would answer this question. Is there anything that I, Pastor Tony, can pray about for you? Is there anything that I can pray about for you? Maybe it's something that has to do with your pet. Maybe it's something that's happening at school. Maybe something really good happened and you want to praise God for what that was. Maybe you're struggling with something. Or there's an issue with your family. Maybe you haven't seen your grandparents since COVID started and that's difficult and you say, Pastor Tony, can you please pray that I be okay? Maybe there's something you hope to do, or a habit that you want to start or you want to break. Is there anything that I can pray about for you? Once you think of something that I could be praying about for you, why don't you share that with me? Some of you, your parents, they have my cell phone number or my email address, and maybe you'd say, Pastor Tony, I want to share something with you, but I don't know how. Well, you could email me. You could call me here at the church, at my house. Send me a text. You know what? If you don't know how to get a hold of me, why don't you go to our church website and scroll down to the bottom of the page where you'll find a whole section that says, Contact Us. And you could send an email to the church that I'll get with a prayer request that you want to share, or a phone number that you could call here at the church to tell me what I could be praying about for you. You know what you could even do? You could use a pencil to write me a letter to tell me how I can be praying for you. So again, I ask, is there anything I can pray about for you? If you're able to share with me how I can be praying for you, I could use a pencil to write that down so I would remember, and I can specifically be praying about you as you come to mind. We've reached the end of our lesson. A lesson where we used simple stuff, pencils, to learn more about how Paul was helping his friends and how I want to be praying for you. And in a few weeks, we'll have another lesson about some simple stuff that will help teach us more about who God is, what He's like, and how we can be like Him. So until then, this week, I encourage you to go be like Jesus. I even encourage you to pray for your friends as I continue to pray for you. And so, my friends, I hope you have a great day, a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.